I am here next to my CR Spotless Pro system. Absolutely love this thing for my home use. Really, really great. What this is, how this differs from the regular CR Spotless systems, is this actually runs RO into DI. So basically it'll run through some filters, run through the RO system, which has a much, much longer lifespan than traditional like mixed bed resins for DI. It does that, it stores it in this tank as RO water, and then when I'm ready to use it, there's a secondary pump. Fire that on, it pumps back into the system here through a DI filter and then out through your pressure washer. Why is that important? Because it's the RO will store the water, it'll clean the water significantly, but not down to 0 parts per million. Once it stores in there, then it goes through DI at the last minute, taking it all the way down to 0 so you get the best quality water.
Real quick though, I want to let you guys know we have an absolute amazing sale going on one day only over at the House of Rags. That is going to be 30% off of my QUIVR Not a Beach Towel. Beautiful South Korean microfiber, really, really soft, really, really low pile twist loop fabrication. So incredible for drying cars, picks up a ton of water, but the low pile allows it so it doesn't get snagged on things. I work on a lot of high-end vehicles. Sometimes the logos are pretty brittle or sharp, and sometimes you can get caught up on those. With this short pile twist loop, you don't have to worry about it. Super soft on the paint, incredible towel. Go pick it up along with some other QUIVR products over at thehouseofrags.com. Again, one day only, January 1st, 30% off the towel.
Now I want to use today's video to try and figure out how cost effective this unit actually is. They have 3 different systems that they sell with this. This is their mod 1, I believe, and this is the full kit. This is where you get the RO system, the tank, the extra pump, all that kind of good stuff. You could also go unit only and then you buy your own tank, or you could do it unit only with no secondary pump, and that's just going to be straight to DI water. So depending on what your needs are, those will be the 3 options. So real quick, I'm gonna give you a brief overview. I already loosened up the screws on this so we can pop this cover off. Did I miss one? Nope, there we go. So we can pop this off and just go ahead and move this out of the way. And that exposes our whole system here. And this is really, really cool. So as you can see, this is our water in, okay? Water in comes through here, down to here. Water in is going to go through a carbon filter and sediment filter. That's what these guys are here. And then it's going to come up through and pump through our RO membrane. That's this guy here. As of right now on their website, they do not have a replacement for this. They state it'll last about 3 years. So we're going to factor that into our costs. They said they will have them available. It's just, this is a relatively new unit, about a year old. So they're still getting this all set up. Anyways. After that, like I said, it gets pumped into here, into the big tank, right? From there, when I hit it, as you can see here, there's an RO pump switch, and then there's a delivery system pump switch. That's what's gonna feed it into my pressure washer, so we would fire that on. You could probably hear it. There you go. There you go, and it's all primed up. So the pump's now going to pump through, here, water, so this is the fill tube, and this will carry us back into here. Back through the system, it'll run through our DI filter here, okay, and through and then out to the pressure washer. Now, one of the big differences between reverse osmosis or RO water and DI water is the way that it cleans it. So DI just uses a mixed bed resin. The water goes through the system, gets essentially washed, and comes out the other end. So you put a gallon of water in, you're getting a gallon of water out. With a reverse osmosis system, there is a wastewater. So basically it takes, say, 2 gallons of water, it splits half of it. Half of it will come out as spot free. The other side will go out as wastewater, and that gets dumped out. That's where I want to figure out with this system, what is the ratio of wastewater to actual production of RO water. So again, in order to test this, we're going to be doing 2 things. I'm going to be checking the quality of the RO water that's sitting in the tank, and then I will also use 5 gallons. And then in order for that to refill, we'll see how many gallons of wastewater we're producing, because we do have to factor in the cost of water with this, because we do produce waste, right? That's not usable. And we're gonna look at 2 different cost ratios. So we're gonna look at a regular CR Spotless, or even some of the off-brand name ones. The initial cost of the initial setup versus this initial setup, and the cost per gallon produced. And then we'll look at the refills and cost per gallon used. With the refills, guys, this is like crazy, 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 crazy cheap. The upfront cost on this is much more. But again, I think if you're dedicating yourself to using DI water, I like this setup. This, you're able to use DI water throughout the entire wash, versus the other one, you don't get nearly as much yield, so you want to use a bypass. Very, very important. For me, as a professional detailer, I usually have full tank of DI water in my truck or in my van setup, and that's what I like. I like using DI throughout the whole process. Alrighty, so first test, as you can see, the water has filled up and my tank is all full. So when you open this up, you actually have a float valve sitting in there, so it knows when to stop the water from filling up anymore. So what I'm gonna do is grab a total dissolved solids parts per million meter. So TDS, total dissolved solids, and it's going to tell us how many parts per million our water is at currently. So here we go. Drop it in there. There you go, guys. Purely from the reverse osmosis system, it brought it all the way down to 16 parts per million. Now, technically, anything under 20 is technically spot free. I still see a difference between 0 and that for sure. That's why you run it through the DI after. Now, in order to communicate just how effective that is, I have a bucket here I just filled up with water straight from the tap. So you guys can see how many parts per million I was at before it went through the RO system. All right, so here's our bucket. Here's our TDS meter still at 0. Put it in the bucket, give it a little shake. 349 parts per million. So from 349 parts per million down to 16 parts per million in this setup. And that's why this thing becomes so cost effective to use on a daily basis, because the DI resin, because we're still running it through DI, right? That's no different than the regular DI systems. But what we're doing is washing and pre-treating that water before it goes to the DI. So instead of the DI having to wash 349 parts per million of contamination out of the water, it is now only having to wash out 16 parts per million, meaning the usage of the DI resin is going to last significantly longer. And again, at the end of this, when we start getting into price ratios, we're going to do a basic cost analysis to see exactly how much more cost effective it is that way. All right, guys, now let's go ahead and get to testing. What I have here, let's see, I have both pumps on, my pressure washer set up there. I have my pressure washer gun here. A little sneak preview, guys, of what I've been working on here. Really, really excited for this thing. But basically, I'm gonna go ahead and pull the trigger. This is without the pressure washer on, and you can hear it. Okay, once we turn the pressure washer on, it's different, and you won't even hear that issue going on because the pressure washer will be pulling from it as well. I have heard some issues of people with a Kranzle machine having issues with this, and I don't think that is the case at all. I think that actually it's just that when you set this up, you connect your water and you have to back it off. Otherwise an air bubble gets stuck in there, and then it jams up your pressure washer a little bit. So you have to back it off. You'll get some water spitting out, and then it runs perfect. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and turn the unit on. It's gonna be loud because it's on a metal cage, but okay, so it is on now, right? And now what we're gonna do is we're going to pull the trigger on the pressure washer gun with the pressure washer on and let it fill up all the way to the top. So a full, basically 5 gallons. Then that means we drained 5 gallons out of the tank, right? It's gonna start reproducing, and we're gonna see how many gallons of wastewater. We have multiple buckets over there to see how much wastewater it takes to refill 5 gallons. So here we go. Okay, so we're filling up. I don't know if it's producing any wastewater yet, not yet. We'll see that fire on here in a little bit. But as you can see, it's keeping up with the system, no worries at all. So I'm gonna go ahead and fast forward this for you guys so you don't have to sit here and wait the whole time with me. And again, guys, we are drawing from this tank. Again, it's pumping from the tank back through the DI into the pressure washer. So we're drawing from this tank. Again, 5 gallons worth is what we're gonna do. And then we're gonna see this thing start producing. These buckets all the way to the top, it's about 5.5 gallons. So that's probably 5 gallons there, but we're just gonna let it keep going all the way to the top till we start spilling out a little bit. And there we are. So now, let's see here. This should start firing on, I would think. Let me see here. Let me go ahead and check my TDS meter. So as you can see, what's coming into it, the TDS meter from the tank here, it's reading at 13, and then out is at 0 parts per million. Or 1 maybe. Okay, so what we're gonna do is gonna go ahead and grab the TDS meter, and we're gonna go ahead and turn this back on, and we're gonna test the water here. All right, and I am at 002 now. So we're not at 0, but, oh, 01. Yeah, I think it's just contamination from the bucket. As you can see, there's some sediment and stuff in here. So really, really good, completely good to go. Why it's not filling right now, maybe I didn't drain it enough. RO pump switch, yeah, good, good, good. All right, well, maybe we need to keep going. So that's 5 gallons. So I'm just gonna dump this and then we'll refill another 5 till this thing starts firing on to get this back up. Oh, there we go, guys. We got some movement. We got some water trickling through. Okay, so we're gonna go to half of this. So it'll be 7.5 gallons, roughly. Yeah, we'll go to 7.5 gallons. All right, that should be it there. So now, here we go. So here is the stream that you can see. Okay, pretty good stream of water going out there. Make sure it doesn't come out. All right, guys, so I lost a little bit, it flung out, but as you can see, we got a solid stream going there now. Okay, so that's our wastewater that's gonna be coming out. Our water fill is coming here. It's gonna be dripping back into the system. So if we take this off, there's the stream of water going there, okay? So it's not the fastest to reproduce water, but again, as a home user or even as a pro, this will do the job for sure. So I will update you guys. I'm not gonna sit here and make you guys watch this trickle of water. But I will monitor this and I will let you know how many buckets we're at. All right, guys, we're getting just about to the full line for the first 5-gallon bucket. It's roughly there. We're about to spill over here. So I'm gonna go ahead and switch it and I'm gonna tape it down this time so I don't lose any. So here we go. Wait for it. There you go, it spills over. There we go, and down. I'm gonna have to put the phone down real quick to move that out of the way and tape this in place. All right, guys, so the second bucket's in place. We got it taped down and hopefully that holds pretty well. But we're gonna go ahead and let that fill up. And this bucket is just about full, so we're gonna switch over to another fresh bucket. This is number 3. We're going on to bucket number 4. All right, guys, bucket number 4, pretty much full. I'm gonna do the swap and go to bucket number 5. All right, guys, just switched over to bucket number 6. Bucket number 6 is just about full. Gonna switch over to bucket number 7. Bucket number 7 coming to a full end there, so we're gonna switch over to bucket number 8. Bucket number 9. Bucket number 9, this is bucket number 10. All right, guys, so it's official. It has stopped. Like I said, it was just about there. Let's see here. We're about, I'm gonna call it halfway. It's a little above halfway. We're gonna call it halfway. So it was 9.5 buckets because we got to 9 and then this was number 10, we got halfway. 9.5 buckets to replenish that. So I'll do the calculations. I'll meet you guys in the garage.
All right, so there is the actual use case of the CR Spotless Pro. Now, real quickly, I wanna talk about a couple of things. Again, I have heard some issues regarding using it with a Kranzle machine. Now, the Kranzle 1322 from Obsessed Garage gets 1.9 gallons per minute of usable GPM. The unit I'm using outside, I have it rated up, I have it set up at 1.8 gallons per minute. I have 0 issues using it with that unit. As we bump that up, I don't know, we can do more tests down the road. I can even test it with like a max flow pressure washer that gets a ton of flow through it. So just to make sure that it's all good. But again, 1.8 GPM that I'm running right now, and I have no issues with that unit, just right up front. So now let's go ahead and get in the numbers, guys. I completely geeked out and did a whole bunch of math. I'm gonna put this up on the screen as we go through it. So I'm gonna try and keep it as simple as possible. I'm a moron, but I think I made it so everyone can understand this because the numbers get a little bit confusing. But one of the main things that I wanted to take into account when you're looking at these machines is they take the cost per unit or the cost per refill, and then they factor that, they divide it by how many gallons you're supposed to get, right? And that gives you your gallons or your price per gallons. However, especially when we're using the reverse osmosis system, we do have to factor in the fact that we're using wastewater or creating wastewater as well, because we're using a lot more water than we would be with the traditional just standard DI system. And I did a quick little search on Grok and I found that a standard RO system usually produces between 4 to 6 gallons of wastewater for every gallon that it makes. Now, there's some things that can make that fluctuate, including temperature, including water pressure going into the unit, all that kind of different stuff. So again, we tested it out there. We took out 7.5 gallons of water and it took 9.5 buckets of wastewater for it to refill. That comes to 9.5 buckets at 5 gallons a piece, comes to 47.5 gallons to create the 7.5 gallons of RO and then out to DI, right? So that comes to a ratio of 6.3 gallons of waste for every 1 gallon made, or a total of 7.3 gallons used, right? 6.3 went to waste, 1 went to RO, and then I went out to DI. But a total, like if you're looking at it price per gallon that you're actually using from the city water or whatever else, we used 7.3 gallons for every 1 gallon. Now to calculate what that actual real cost is, I took my city water, I'm here in San Diego, and they judge it by HCF, 100 cubic feet of water, which is essentially 748.05 gallons. Now the pricing structure for us here in San Diego is tiered. So the more water you use, the more expensive it gets, right? I went and I took the highest number and across the entire board. Now it's tiered, so you wouldn't get that. So I'm putting this at the absolute worst case scenario. But for a HCF, 100 cubic foot of water, it costs us $10.46. That comes to an average price of 0.014. So that's 1.4 pennies per gallon of water. So very, very low cost when you think about it, right? And again, that's tiered at the highest price. So now with all that said, I'm gonna go ahead and bring this chart up so you guys can see it and we can walk through it. I'm gonna break this down by price for the initial cost of the unit. Like if you just buy the unit and use it once, this will be your price per gallon cost. Then we'll look at the refills and look at your price per gallon cost. Obviously, that's where you're really gonna, if you're gonna do this and you're gonna be using it all the time, you want that number to be as low as possible, because even though it's a higher initial cost, if the price per gallon on the refills is super low, it's all gonna balance out. But it just so happens that the actual cost per gallon on the CR Spotless Pro is the lowest right up front as well. So let's go ahead and jump into this. We're looking at 3 different units. The CR Spotless Pro Mod 1, that's the exact one I have outside. You get the unit itself and the tank and the whole deal. Then we're going to be looking at the standard CR Spotless that everyone has. The either DIC20, which is on the cart, or DIW20, which is a wall mount version, but it's the 2 canisters that you can get. And then we're also going to be comparing that to the QUIVR setup, because they have a replica that looks exactly the same. It's not quite, and I had some issues with mine, so we'll talk about that pricing as well. All right, guys, so initial cost of the Spotless Pro, right? That thing retails for $1,734 at this current time. Free shipping is included. Obviously, you have to factor in taxes and stuff, but I'm leaving taxes out of this just to keep it simple. Now, when I looked on CR Spotless's site, they have some education on there, and they estimate that for the CR Spotless Pro, the DI resin filter should last 1,500 gallons. The other filters in there, the carbon filter and the sediment filter, should last 4,500 gallons. I'm a little confused on that. I don't know if that's gallons created or gallons coming through, because if it's going through, then the sediment filter and the carbon filter are gonna be depleted quicker because you're running a lot more water through it, because again, we were using 1 gallon to 6.3 of waste. So, but the cost of those is super low anyway, so we're just gonna base it off 1,500 gallons of usable production from this initial startup. So we have the initial cost of $1,734, then we have to factor in the cost of our actual water used, right? So we got 1,500 gallons times the 7.3, remember, because it takes 7.3 gallons for us to use 1 gallon. That comes to 10,950 gallons. At 0.014 cents, that comes to a total of $153.30. So then we're gonna take the initial cost of the unit, the $1,734, plus the water cost, and that gives us a total of $1,887.37, or sorry, and 30 cents. We're gonna divide that by the 1,500 gallons, and that's going to give us an initial cost per gallon of actually used product here of $1.26 per gallon. Now, keeping along with the initial cost, we're gonna jump over to the DIC20, DIW20s, $460 for that unit. Now, they do have a unit with a bypass, and that is nice because you're gonna get the same amount of yield of spot-free water, but you can do more washes with it, essentially. So basically on their website, when they do their estimates of how much water yield you're gonna get, it's basically based off of about 260 parts per million of water going into the unit, right? That's how dirty it is. Obviously mine was dirtier than that, so I'm gonna get less yield. But these numbers, we're going to leave it at that to keep everything equal on the board. Those costs that I just told you for the CR Spotless Pro are based off of that number. And again, the bypass is a nice feature, 460. With the bypass, it comes to 575. We're not going to compare it that way. We're just going to actual pure outage of water. But you could potentially set up a bypass system on the CR Spotless Pro too. Take a longer hose, but you could do it. So with that said, the initial cost is $460. Now again, because whatever water goes through is what we're using, it just washes it. We're not creating any wastewater. The cost of our actual water usage is much, much lower. So again, we're looking at creating 300 gallons of spot-free water through the system at that 260 parts per million. If we multiply that by the 0.014, it comes to $4.20. So like no water cost here, right? So 460 initial cost plus the 420 comes to 464.20 divided by the 300 gallons we're assuming we're gonna get, and that comes to $1.55 per gallon. So almost 30 cents more than the CR Spotless Pro machine. Now real quick, let's jump into the QUIVR unit real quick, because that thing, again, it comes with the bypass and everything. Now the bypass is not set up correctly on that unit as it comes. You have to get some female to female connections and then a male to male connection to be able to fit it together so that it actually works properly. I made a whole review on that unit. You can go check it out. I'll try and link it up here. But that unit, the initial cost comes to $230. Now, when I put that thing together, the filters in it didn't seal at the top, so I got 0 spot-free water from it. It all bypassed and it was still spotting. Now, I know other people with lower TDS in their water have no issue with it. If it's like 50, it'll clear it. Mine, again, at the 350 whatever-ish total dissolved solids in my water, it doesn't wash it. So that's a mute point for me. I immediately had to go buy refills. And so we're gonna factor that cost in right now. So the $230 plus $119 worth of refill. Refills, I always suggest still going through CR Spotless. They have a whole plant where they redo their resins, and it's incredible. They create high quality resins. So $349 is the initial cost of that when you have to buy the refills. Factoring in the cost of the water and everything, our total cost comes to $353.20 or $1.18 per gallon. So still really, really cheap there. But now let's get into where the real savings come in, and that is on the refills, right? Now we're looking at extending this thing out more and more and more. Real quick, I want to talk about the CR Spotless Pro and how it's set up, okay? So their refill costs $145, and what you get is 3 DI resin filters. You get a sediment filter and a carbon filter. Again, the sediment and carbon filter is supposed to last 4,500 gallons. Each resin is supposed to last 1,500. So that gives you a total usage of 4,500 gallons on that, right? So if we take that $145 cost and then we take 4,500 gallons, again, multiplied by 7.3, because that's how many gallons it takes us to make it, it comes to 32,850 gallons times the 0.014, which is $459.90. So the total cost now of our refill plus the water that we're gonna have to use is a total of $604.90, and that's going to yield us 4,500 gallons. Again, based on that 260 parts per million number. That comes to a total of 13 cents per gallon, guys. That is incredible. Now, if we were to just take the water out of this and just look at the refill cost, which is 145 bucks divided by the 4,500, it comes to 3 cents a gallon. So depending on where you are, I'm in San Diego, and I don't know other people's water rates. I'm assuming ours are pretty high here. So keep that in mind. It may be substantially even less for you. Now, one other thing with this machine though is the RO membrane. Again, I think I talked about it earlier. They don't have a replacement for that yet. It's supposed to last about 3 to 4 years. Again, that's probably dependent on how much TDS is coming through that though. And they are working on that solution. They will have a replacement for that as well. So I don't know what the cost will be yet, but again, that's supposed to last substantially longer. So I'm not even factoring in the price here because 2 reasons. It lasts a really long time and I don't know the cost. All right, now we're going to move into the refill cost, and the QUIVR and the CR Spotless DIW and DIC 20s are going to be the same cost because we're using CR Spotless resins for the refills. And because of that, they're going to get the same amount of yield and all that kind of good stuff. So $119 for the refill. Again, our water cost is only $4.20. And so the total cost is $123.20 divided by the 300 gallons. is going to give us a cost per gallon of 41 cents. So guys, right off the bat, you can see pretty clearly that yes, it's a much bigger investment right up front, but if you're serious about this, if you're washing 1 to 2 cars a day at your home or whatever else, the Spotless Pro is where to go. Now, if you're running a professional business and you need to do more than that, the regeneration rate of the CR Spotless Pro is a little lacking there, right? It's perfect for the home user, the enthusiast, or someone running a business on the side kind of deal. But if you're running any sort of volume out of a shop or something like that, it's not gonna keep up in that sense. For example, my system that I have at my retail location where I actually sell product and sell water out of the back, that system is incredible. So again, with the CR Spotless Pro, for every 1 gallon, we're creating 6.3 gallons of waste. At my shop, my giant system that I have, for every 5.5 gallons that I make, only 3 gallons go to waste. So out of 8.5 gallons, 5.5 are usable gallons. So that keeps my costs down low and I'm able to resell the water at a good price. So that's it, right? So the CR Spotless Pro, I think sure it has limitations, but I think for the majority of people, especially the home user, it's a really, really great unit. It takes a long time to refill. Again, it was 9 minutes per bucket and 9.5 buckets to refill 7.5 gallons. So it takes some time. But like I said, if you're not doing crazy volume, it should work perfectly and it's gonna keep your water costs really, really low and have a nice spot-free finish, right? But don't forget, even when you use a spot-free finish, I personally use DI water through everything and I immediately go to drying off the car. My QUIVR beach towel, again, guys, is on sale currently at the House of Rags, 1 day only, January 1st, 30% off. But even then, the value of this thing is incredible when it's not on sale. So make sure to check that out. If it's not on sale at that time, you can use code I'mJoshV for an additional 10% off site-wide over there. So I think it's well worth picking up. But that is it for today's video, guys. I wanted to just give you all of that information. Sorry if we kind of nerded out a little too much on all the numbers, but I think it's important. And I think it's cool to really dive into this and really give you guys the real world numbers that I'm getting personally. So CR Spotless Pro, I like it a lot. I really, really do. It's a great unit. The other units as well, the DIC and the DIW 20s, great as well. It's just the cost per use is higher than on the CR Spotless Pro. If you want the best value, go that way. That's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Please make sure to like the video. Make sure you're subscribed. Turn on that notification bell, and we will see you guys on the next one.